The feds aren't going to lower the interest rates. Oh my God. What does that mean? It means, I don't know, World War III or a crash in the market. The big question is, what do you want to be driving around when the bombs drop? This is Bid Nerds. We're going to make predictions on cars, on BAT, cars and bits and more. The bidding starts now. Bid Nerds is your daily YouTube car game show, where we predict the online auction results of the most interesting cars on Bring a Trailer, Cars and Bids, Hagerty Marketplace, and more. It's just like the Price is Right game show. Play along and see if you can beat the nerds. Oh, yeah, we are here. We are getting started, and we already have weird button issues. Tonight has been fun on the technical side. Let me just tell you guys, this is fun stuff. My name is John Polank. I'm your host of Bid Nerds, the show that's late tonight, along with my partner, Michael Deeb. I am coming to you from the downtown Las Vegas Container Park, while Michael Deeb himself is in San Francisco. I know, we are getting this party started a little late, but better late than never. We have Wade Bennett from Tech Daily is back. Let's see if his camera's working. Holy cow, look at that.
What's up, Wade?
I'm so relieved. Look, I sat down here and I was so excited to be back. And then as soon as I walked in the studio, everything fell apart. So props to JB and Michael Deeb for just addressing every single technical issue known to man tonight. And I'm glad to be here.
I mean, you are Tech Daily, right? So I think it was a tech problem.
The thing is, the people don't know what a monstrosity this setup is. So many cameras and mics and this and that. Everything that you have put together here is great, but man, is it a tricky thing to get right. I give you a lot of credit, and I definitely don't want to be in that seat. I'm glad to be in this seat.
It is like a hot chick, man, getting this thing to do what you want it to do. All right, let's hear. We have another guest tonight. We kind of tease him there for a second. We showed his face. I think he's our all-time Yahtzee winner, Gerd Shoop. Welcome to Bid Nerds. What's up, buddy?
Oh, happy to be here. It's going to be kind of weird being put on the spot and not being able to type in my bid now, you know?
Well, Randy will take care of that for you in the Nerd Herd, I am sure, right? He's the man. Well, and speaking of Randy and the Nerd Herd, man, thanks for hanging around, Nerd Herd, and waiting for us to get started. The guys, look, everybody's hanging out already. This is great. Thanks for hanging. I can't even keep up with all the comments that are going on here. I want to go through. Yeah.
Sean, look at this. Who was it? Hold on one second. God, it already went by. Okay, so Tom... Am I saying it right? Tom Bales says, "What the hell?" He goes, "It's 9:45. Laugh out loud. First time I get here early, and then this."
Yeah, you know, everybody's got something to say about a free show, man.
Tom, we feel your pain. Wade and I are here on time every week, and JP is always like, "Deeb, shut up. I'm concentrating." Like, he doesn't want to hear it. He's like, "I'm not ready yet, Deeb." And he doesn't have his cans on because he's typing away like furious and just putting the whole thing together. We feel you, Tom. We feel you for sure.
You get what you pay for, right?
That is true, and this is definitely the case. All right, we want to shout out to our good friends at Godden Porsche and Godden Classic. Look at that. Says it on my shirt. I think it says it on Gerd's shirt too. Gerd, like, do a little thing. Oh, look at that. He's wearing the Godden shirt. Look at that. Oh, yeah. Godden Classic, Godden Porsche of Las Vegas. If you need parts for your classic Porsche, or if you need a classic Porsche, give Steve a call at Godden Classic. And, of course, if you're sitting there looking at your watch going, what the hell, Bid Nerds? Are you guys on time? You guys, I know the Nerd Herd was on time. They're all looking at their watches. Their watches are right on time because everyone in their Nerd Herd gets their fine Swiss watch repaired and serviced at our Smiths. So we know they don't have an excuse to be late.
Just so the Nerd Herd knows, we endeavor to be on time week after week after week so that we become so dependable that when we might eventually ever be late again, you would actually all just immediately send your watches back to Boise, Idaho and say, "What the hell, Anthony, my watch is wrong," because it said the Nerd Herd started at 6:37 and they're always on time. Well, we know we're not there yet.
Well,
is that a good joke?
That's a good joke. I'm laughing. Everyone in the Nerd Herd is laughing. We are excited about this. Boy, everyone's hanging out in the herd. I'm just so excited to see everybody in the herd was here and they didn't give up on us. So we're not going to give up on you. All right, tonight's show. Tonight, lots going on in the world. We're going to get to reconciling our. Oh boy, our predictions from the last episode, and there were some big kind of crazy results from that last episode. But before we do that, I just wanted to mention there is a lot going on, and I'm not going to go through everything in the news, but we did kind of open up this show. There's a lot of stuff the Feds said that they are not going to lower the interest rates. A lot of people in the car business have been waiting for that to happen. That is, they've been waiting for the Feds to lower the interest rates. They've been kind of alluding to that, but it turns out that, all right, drinking game starts now. Turns out that inflation is not just high, it's way higher than anyone really thought it was. So the Feds are doing everything they can to try to battle that, or are they? I don't know. That's a whole other story. There's a lot going on in the Middle East. They're going to affect things like gas prices. Boy, lots going on that can affect the value of just about everything. We've seen big shifts in crypto this week. We've seen some really rocky stuff going on the regular old, the Dow. We're seeing rips in gold. Gold is at an all-time high. So the big question today will be, are classic and enthusiast cars a good hedge against everything that's going on? What do you got to say about that, Michael Deep?
I was going to go back to the gold. I had just heard this, JP, and I know, without alluding too much, like you like your assets, and physical gold is something you are comfortable holding. Let's just say that. Did you know that you could buy gold from, is it Costco? Did
Costco,
you know that?
yes.
Costco's
Yeah,
now
did you
selling gold.
Costco
did you know that? I
is the
just heard
place-
that.
the
I
place
just
to buy
heard that
gold right
this
now.
weekend, and I am telling you, JP, I don't know why that makes me want to just go out and do it just so I can say something about it. Like, I just think
You
that's
might
hilarious.
be too late. Costco might not
might
have any
be.
more gold at
I'd
this
be
point.
shocked if they have any.
Yeah.
Were they selling
But
at spot price,
they-
or what were
But
they?
they were selling so much physical gold that some pundits, and this is all unsubstantiated. I am late to the conversation on this. I'm sure the herd knows better than I do, and obviously Wade is familiar. But the story I heard was that Costco sold so much gold that some pundits were accusing Costco of affecting the price, and I
Wow.
thought that was pretty funny. I don't know if there's any truth to
Are
that.
they
but
selling it by
it's
the
a great
pallet?
conversation.
Like, is it a big
Yeah,
bucket
It
of
is.
gold? Yeah.
It's literally a big display in the front,
Wow.
like chips or something. It's just right there. And
Isn't that amazing? JP, I'm telling you, we got to get in on this, man.
Oh
I
my
just think
gosh, yeah.
right.
Let's do it.
I'd renew my Costco card for that. I'm like, hey man, we're saving on gold. you
Oh
know?
man, I mean, if you could get it, even if you could get it like 10% over spot, that would be a good deal these days.
Well, and that's the thing. They were barely marking it up
Yeah.
as they do, and just selling it, and they went through it. And so then I think they went and bought a whole bunch of it because it worked. But I don't know if it's still like I said, I'm late to the conversation, and as Wade alluded, we might be late to the game. Costco may not be in the gold business anymore. But I just heard that, and I man, talk about a head scratcher, John. I thought that was
Yeah, well,
I couldn't wait to tell
we
you.
don't talk about gold markets per se on this show. What we're all about is car markets. So let's start out by looking at the results of the last auctions that we made predictions on, because
Yeah.
I think there were some pretty interesting results there that may give us some indication of what the heck is going on, if anything. Let's get to that first car that was on the list, Michael D. What do we got?
All right, we love you, Chef. Chef selected for us. Chef loves all the really trick cars, and he picked out a narrow body 1977 Porsche 911 S Coupe with a 5-speed. Somebody grafted on a ducktail, Carrera hips. They put some 17-inch Magnus Walker wheels, very similar to the wheel spec that's on my car. Fiberglass RSR front and rear bumpers, and of course the big news is the 3.6 liter out of a 964 in the back of this car. Now, the motor was rebuilt by those guys up in Seattle, JP. See if I can find their name while we're talking about them. It's not coming right up to me. So anyway, these guys rebuilt the motor, John Walker's workshop. But by all accounts, they just rebuilt it back to stock. So I think they rebuilt the motor and threw it in there. It doesn't look like it's some high compression build with fancy pistons and cylinders, but it's still probably good for a legit 250 horsepower, which is more than enough for an early lightweight Carrera such as this. Not a name brand build. The interior is definitely polarizing. A little bit of Pepita is a good thing. A lot of Pepita is a terrible thing. And the interior in this car, unfortunately, looks terrible. The equipment is great. The door, RSR door cards and a floor mounted shifter and a really nice, looks like a Jackie X steering wheel. JP, I think you went Jackie X with that one. Could be a Niki Lauda, but it's definitely one of those vintage Momos, which is really cool. And I love the fixed back seats, but when you cover everything in a like 3-color Pepita, you wind up turning everybody off. So anyway, here comes this car down the pike. It's on Bring a Trailer. It's located in, computer, talk to me. Here we go. Statesville West, North Carolina. And I started the bidding, John, at $109,000. JP, you took the under at $99,911. And we had Frank Kaiser, the gentleman who wrote not only the R Group book, but several other publications. He's resides in Germany, is by all accounts a great photographer, and he has published a bunch of photography books, but certainly in our community, John, the R Group book is the one that he is most known for. He was in the States visiting Chris Carbine at Carbine Motorsports. Chris made a whole evening affair, inviting all his VIP clients to come to the shop, meet Frank in person, and then post Frank giving a talk and evidently signing books for Carbine Motorsport customers. Chris put Frank on the podcast with us. Frank joined us from New Orleans and bid $89,000 on this car, citing that although it is an outlaw, he didn't seem to be too impressed by what he saw in the images. Wade, look, you've been learning about these cars. JP and I sort of pound the table that if it's somebody we know, it's somebody that the everyday Porsche consumer has heard of, and he builds the Outlaw, that car is going to bring easily $200, $250, sometimes $300,000. But if it's not somebody you really struggle, and you got to look at the equipment and the condition and whatever, and then you're all by yourself. So with all that in mind, Wade, what do you think this sort of no-name Outlaw with a sort of polarizing interior would bring on BAT in this market?
Yeah, not knowing too much else about the build, where it came from, who did it. I mean, you probably still can't build these for less than 100,000, I would imagine, but weird car. Outside looks okay. Interior is very unique. I think everything except for the doors and the dash would have been enough. Just the seats are fine, but I don't know. I think for 91,911, that's probably plenty of money, and somebody's still going to enjoy it as long as they really like all the little things that car has. And assuming it's built well.
Yeah, and Gerd, I mean, you've been lockstep with us with the show for the last year, and you've had very strong opinions on a lot of the cars. Gerd, if you're not familiar with this one, care to venture a bid on the 3.6 Outlaw build?
He already did.
Yeah,
he was
bid.
watching the show.
Sorry,
yeah.
Oh,
His
right.
bid was
Forgive me,
105, Gerd.
Yeah.
Oh, Gerd, sorry.
Good.
I'm treating you like an outsider, and I kind of forget that you've already put your bid in. Forgive me. All right. So, it was 91 and 105, all good guesses, but JP was on the money. Our car sold for exactly $100,000, meaning JP missed a Yahtzee by $89. It took 29 bids to get there. John, you guessed this one correctly. Why were you so sort of bearish on this car? Again, assuming that it's worth right around $100,000, you would Wade made a good point. If you were trying to make this car today, it would cost you at least $150 to go start down the road of building this car. Why didn't it bring more? Why were you right on with your guess?
Well, I mean, in our guest, Frank, Frank clearly didn't like the car. He was being very polite. He was he was all to the point of clutching his pearls. I feel like Frank, really nice guy, but I think he's kind of a purist, right? Everything's got to be. So that said, I'm not quite that worried about whether or not something is necessarily period correct or correct in any way. I love a hot rod. I love doing things wrong, but it felt like this car just wasn't done right holistically. Something's off about it. There's some of the detail, and we've all mentioned it. That interior is just way too much. A little goes a long way, like you said, and I think this car just it's dialed up to 11 from a very personalized style point of view, which if it's somebody's car, great. You know, if the person who built it and made it like this, I would love to see it driving down the road, and I would love to see the owner rock this. But for someone else, this is like monogrammed underwear. You know, you just don't wear some other guy's, pants that have his name on it. This car has some skid marks that I don't want next to my jewels. And I don't know. What do you think of the results of this thing, Wade?
I don't know. I think you're being a little too harsh. I mean, there's nothing about this car that's that obscene that you couldn't, take apart in an afternoon if you really didn't like certain elements to it, aside from maybe the interior. But I will say, like you said, for $150,000 at least, you're going to be building a car like this. So maybe there was still a little bit more money left to be had, whether it's the unknown build, whether it's the question of how well it's built. Or maybe it's the market, maybe it's this, maybe it's that. But I still think for $100,000, that's a decent chunk of change for a car like this. I mean, it's a 6-figure car, and somebody's going to enjoy it, hopefully. And, regardless of what you think, JP, there's at least one other person in the world who felt that this was the car for them.
Well, don't get me wrong. I'm with you. I mean, I think it's a good buy. I think the car is an awesome car, and I'm with you, Wade. I would just change a couple of things. Gerd, what do you think of the results of this car?
I really like the car, but I think it's a limited market with that interior. If the interior was a little more subtle, it would probably appeal to a lot more people.
So how much money do you think you left on the table? Like, if all that stuff was black, how much more would this car brought?
I would probably venture to guess maybe 25, 30 more.
Wow.
It would just open the market up to a lot more people.
I do kind of agree with him, because, I mean, the thing is, what shocks me so much about the classic Porsche market is that people have, when we see these custom builds, we see this amazing vision that people have for their cars. And when it's executed and finally on the road, even this car, you see this car, it's a striking looking car. Again, I kind of like it. I think it's just too unique, and it's probably branded to a person. So I want to personalize it in my own way. To me, personally, I see this as a great opportunity to just change it a little bit, and it's a completely different car with a 3.6 and all the great things that you want. I'm always shocked that Porsche owners don't have that vision, that people can't look at this and, like, people are going to look at that interior, and we've all said it. Everybody on this show said it. Everybody on the last episode said it when we were making the predictions. Oh, that interior is terrible. Okay, well, you know how easy it is to change the door panels and the
$3,000.
Not even that. What are you talking about? You can get AppBiz RS door panels for $500. Like, done. Huh?
Yeah, I would, but I'm talking about the seats, the door cards, and the dash.
No, I'm not talking the seat. Like Wade said, the seats. Leave the seats alone. A little bit is fine. If you have that on the seats, okay. Change the door cards and change the dash for less than $1,000, and that is a completely different interior. Pull the X's off the headlights. I don't know. Change the stripes. I don't know. Pull the black off the ducktail. Change the color of the rearview mirrors. Very, very little money. We're talking less than $1,000, and this car looks completely different. I think it would look dope to pull the rocker panels off of this thing, and it would, really have that RSR look. But I don't know, whatever. That's my opinion. What do you guys think of the results?
Shout out to Randy, who got a Yahtzee at $100,000. Randy,
nice
well
job,
done.
Randy.
And then Arthur at $98,000. That's also a damn good bid. The bids were so good and so close on this. We don't even mention that Gerd was only like $4 or $5 off with his bid, which is ordinarily on the money. But Gerd, you get no credit when there's 3 guys that finish closer than you. But Randy definitely got the Yahtzee, so shout out to Randy for getting that one.
Good job, Randy.
To the penny. To the
What
penny.
did I miss it by? Like $90 or
89
something?
$89, yeah.
Jeez, come on.
Yeah, yeah. Randy, 80. JP will give you $89 in Venmo for the win if you'll agree to it right now.
Is that how that works? I don't
Absolutely.
know if that's how it works.
Absolutely.
I'm not in on
I
that.
just said it. It's our show, and I just said it does, so it works like that.
Dang, it must be true. All right, guys. What do you think of the results of this Hot Rod 3.6 77 911 for just $100,000? Do you think that this number is a number that reflects on the condition or the uniqueness of the build, or do you think that this is more about what's going on in the market and people are maybe going, I don't know if I want to put my money in an air-cooled 911 when I might need it because I don't know, am I going to get laid off or are my customers going to get laid off and not be able to buy stuff from me if you're in some business? A lot of people have some anxiety. We're going into this election season. Are people going to be unloading stuff like this? One thing I wanted to mention, Deeb, is, we saw a lot of stuff like this happening back, I'm not even going to say the word, the P word or the C word. I'm just going to say when the government shut everything down like morons, a lot of people sold their cars thinking that there was going to be a big crash in the market, and exactly the opposite happened because there was so much inflation. And a lot of people lost out. So I wonder if, even if you are concerned about a coming crash, if you think that's what's going to happen, is in, like I've said in previous episodes, even, a year ago or more, the last big recession that we saw back in, 08, 9, 10, we didn't have inflation like we do this time around. We didn't have that, 20 years ago or 30 years ago. This time, it's like we really have the potential for a crash, but stagflation, where prices they go up and nobody can move anything. There's no mobility. Gerd, you're actually in the car business. You're on a car lot every day. What are you seeing out there?
Values are definitely down on, trade-ins and pre-owned cars. A lot different than they were, like you were saying, COVID time. Yeah, that was just a ridiculous time. I mean, and I think that's ruined a lot of people's perspective. As far as what's going on now, they expect it to still be up the way it was. It's just not the matter now. It's the times are changed back, basically getting back to normal.
I don't want to waste too many people's time, but Gerd, what would you think a white Macan GTS with red interiors were today?
What is that? Jeez. Deeb's just got the night. Wait, hold on a second. This is my partner Deeb in the background. He's like, I can't even get this thing to work. How does this thing work? Yeah, there we go. There's Deeb right there. My partner, stick it in and twist it. Thanks a lot, buddy. Yeah, I am way upside down on my stupid Macan. All right.
I think Gert can help you out with that. You just rip the Band-Aid off, man.
I got some words on that.
I am just gonna drive that thing until it explodes into a million pieces, which maybe later.
You should have leased it.
I should have leased it. That is true. That is true. There's a lot of things I should have done.
Such good advice.
Let's just watch Deeb here for a while. Everybody watch Deeb giggle.
So it's my daughter's second birthday. I may or may not have had some.
Oh, look at that. We lost Deeb's audio. Anyways, moving on. Geez. All right. Tell your story. Go. Or is it gonna be at my expense?
No. It was my daughter's second birthday today, so we had a house full of people, and I may or may not have had several glasses of white wine today. So tonight's show is gonna be really fun and off the rails already. Here we go.
It is. All right, let's get to the next car. We made a prediction on one of Chris Carbine's cars. I'm kind of excited.
Absolutely, to see Chris Carbine shamelessly submitted this car, a 1987 Toyota Land Cruiser that is offered by none other than Carbine Motor Cars in the great state of Louisiana, down in New Orleans. Our car, or Chris's car, is showing 160,000 miles. This is the venerable and dependable FJ60 platform. It's 4.2-liter inline-six with all-wheel drive and a manual 4-speed. The car was repainted in its lifetime, and a color change. I think it went from either silver or white to this very attractive, and I think Toyota correct two-tone beige interior. The rest of the interior. Exterior paint. The interior of the car looks to be largely original because it does show quite a bit of wear and patina to it. But the car is basically stock. And I argued that a modified one, that somebody would have spent money jacking it up and putting wheels and tires and a roll bar and lights and whatever else, wenches and all the things, all the accoutrements on. I said that the cars that I saw, the results that I saw in the secondary market were bringing big money, but some of the stock ones were not. JP argued an argument that I used, that a stock car would bring all the money. And then I bid the low bid at $22,000. JP took the high bid at $25,000, and Frank parked his bid just under JP's, above mine at $24,500. Randy said 14.5. Anthony at 16.2. Andy at 29.9. Cajun at 19. Gerd at 22.9. John at 24.8. Kevin at 35. That might be the high man. Buddha at 26.6. Scott at 28.599. Buddha, again, what's with the 666, man? What phase are you going through? I thought you liked the dead. But anyway, there were a couple lower than mine. So look at Anthony and Randy are in the teens. Cajun is in the teens. But I was the low man on the show. We should ask Carbine to comment if he wants, but the hammer fell on cars and bids. That's
Hold
the thing.
on.
I think
Let's give Wade a shot.
Oh,
25.
sorry.
25,000. Go ahead. 25,000. Go
Wade,
ahead.
25. Yeah. So Wade, the car was on cars and bids.
Right, the right platform for it, for sure. And to JP's point, this might be the kind of vehicle you want at the end of the world.
See,
very
absolutely.
There we go.
reliable, mechanical.
Absolutely.
You know, you can work on it. So.
Yeah, well, you'll be happy to know, Wade, this car is still available because the hammer fell at just $17,000 where it failed to sell. And it's worth noting that was on 34 bids. So the car got the action, the platform spoke, and they didn't think the car was worth 20 grand. I won this one on the show at 22,000 because I'm the low man. But I'm liking at 17 grand. Anthony is $750 away from winning this, like from a Yahtzee. So Anthony would have won this one. The question is, JP, why didn't this car bring 20? Like, why didn't it at least break 20 grand? And Carbine, if you want to comment, is the car still available, or did you have any shot at a negotiation with the high bidder through Cars and Bids? What was your experience with a failure to sell on Doug DeMuro's platform? So Carbine, comment if you can. There you go. JP, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I really like this truck. I think I'm surprised the seller didn't take the money. I do think it's worth a lot more, but I just got to wonder if people just aren't going to be buying stuff that's not quite original right now. It does make sense. This is an end of the world car. If the cockroaches in a couple of months are the size of a truck, you want a truck that's big and steel. Gerd, what do you think of this thing?
Didn't it under the hood have like pictures of like it hadn't been cleaned up or even like the under chassis?
Yeah, it was dirty.
That?
Yeah,
I think maybe maybe would have helped it push maybe over the 20 if they would have done all that to it.
I don't recall
don't they talk about doing dry ice cleaning these days?
Yeah,
is it worthwhile to do it on something like that?
On a $20,000 car, I don't know.
Yeah, that's a question.
Probably not.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that engine probably should have been cleaned or whatever. But sometimes you got to wonder though. I mean, sometimes an honest picture of an engine, if you see something that's too clean, you kind of start going, what's going on here? That does seem pretty messy. I'm curious what Chris was thinking on that one.
Chris says he's got several interested parties. It's still available, and they're looking at the car for an asking price of $25,000. JP, your knee-jerk reaction was, I'm surprised that the seller didn't take the money, and I want to just chime in here and go, he didn't take the money because Carbine told him it was worth a whole lot more. That's why he didn't take the money. They're looking to get in the range that you're talking about, and theoretically it's possible, but coming from like my perspective is always going to be the auction side. Like if you brought it to Doug DeMuro's site that gets, tens of thousands of views, and it didn't bring 20 grand. What are we missing? Gerd is the only one that offered explanation that if you look closely at the condition of the car under the hood, it doesn't look like the car has truly been tended to. It didn't, like they detailed it obviously on the inside and out for sale, but they didn't like go into the hood. It looks like a car that's been parked outdoors or enjoyed overland for, 150,000 miles. And there's nothing wrong with that, but don't tell me that the car that's in that condition is going to bring a premium price in the mid to high 20s when clearly the rest of the people all said that's a $17,000 truck. Like, something's got to give.
Yeah. I mean, I don't. if you could get this vehicle for like 21, I think you'd be fine, right? I mean, I think that's really where this thing's at, and it would be I would love to own. Does it have air conditioning? Maybe we should get this thing shipped up here to Vegas. Maybe this will be my apocalypse car. I'm excited about it. Good luck to Chris and the seller. Hopefully, you guys can find a buyer that does think it's worth something more than what it was bid to. What do you guys out there watching think this vehicle is worth? Should the seller have taken that money and ran, or do you think they should have taken Chris's advice like they did and held out for more money? They did the right thing. Let us know in the comments below. And what was the other car we made a prediction on the last episode?
Buddha would like to make a public service announcement that the next car is coming up and that the children should leave the room. Before we get to the next car, JP, I would like to ask our guest host in studio, hey, Wade, you want to buy a Lamborghini?
I don't think so.
It's still for sale.
It's YouTuber goofball rap color.
I think I could put this on TikTok and be famous within a week.
You and AJ.
Hold the photo right there. If you look under our filter, you can see JP's screensaver is pink and purple. It's like that mountain shot.
Yeah.
And you had that up pre-show, and I was looking at the Lamborghini on my laptop below my phone, and the car and the screensaver are the same colorway. It's the unicorn colorway. So, Wade, while you were gone, we covered this car twice. That's how long you've been gone, and that's how bad we missed you. But the second time, this car popped up on P-Car Market. And as JP and I were scratching our head, and Chris Carbine, who, by the way, was like, did you guys see this car? It's up on P-Car Market. We're basically assuming that the morning after this car failed to sell on BAT, P-Car Market put this car live. And so we covered this car immediately the second time around. So here we go. It's the 2018 Huracan with the supercharger and the unicorn wrap. Car's got 33,000 miles. It's a little bit rough. JP has been pounding the desk that if this guy is serious about selling the car, he will spend the money at a body shop to remove the wrap, detail it, take new photos, and start over. And it's got to start with somebody else has to represent the car. It cannot be the same dealer in Scottsdale, Arizona. And there is a photo included in the bucket that show the car in its original shade of white. And the car looks beautiful. And JP pointed that out. But anyway, we didn't think this car was going to go very far at all. I said $188,000, which I thought was on the money bid, like really on the money. JP used my bid to connect the dots for his own bid, which is basically a plagiarism of my bid at $190,000. And then Frank Kaiser gave us $172,000. Let's see. So it looks like Randy said 209. Randy thought it would break 200. 209, 420. Kevin at 220, Buddha at under $200,000, which isn't a real bid, Buddha. You got to just give us a number. Scott at 186.5, which is very good, and Racer Nerd at 201. Gerd, I don't see your name in there, so let me start with you. Gerd, did you have an opinion on what this car would do second time around on P-Car Market?
Yeah, I had it at 185.
Thank you.
185 failed to sell.
Right on the money. Yeah, thank you. And Wade, you might have saw this one already, but even if you did, just give us a number. What do you think would happen second time around? Like less than a week. This car twice in 2 weeks. Second time around on P-Car Market. What do you think?
I don't really know, because this is a Huracan Performante, which correct me if I'm wrong, isn't it a $300,000 car in decent?
Correct.
I mean, in good condition.
Stock and low miles, they're 280 to 300. And then you get it. And some of them, like if it's got like no miles on it, could bring 320. But that over 300 money is going to STOs right now. So
sure. And it's the second time. I mean, P-Car Market makes no sense. So I don't know. I'm sure it's stalled at like 200. I'll call it. But
200? That's fine. Yeah, you and Buddha.
I'm gonna say this. I honestly don't think the wrap even hurts it that much. I think it's just kind of like the wrong car. The fact that it's a Performante means like it's slightly more collector. The intended market is slightly smaller, but if you're looking for a Lamborghini, like you're not going to care if there's a unicorn wrap on it, if it's modded, if it has a twin turbo this and an exhaust that. I mean, people put 30, 40, 50 grand in their Lambos nowadays, and that like is kind of a perk for some people. So right. I'm not like so anti-wrap. And the fact that this car had 30-something thousand miles, it's kind of like it's going to go to somebody who wants like a cheaper one with the wrap, with the mods. But I don't know if any of these platforms are even right for the car.
Where would you sell something like this if not on one of these platforms?
Facebook. For sure. This is a Facebook Lambo. Put it in a
Facebook marketplace for a $300,000 or $250,000.
Put it in like a wholesale group or like an exotic car buying and selling group, or even consign it. I mean, you can probably consign it for $220, $240, and they'll sell it for $280 and have the right sort of like young crypto bros who want a modded out unicorn Lambo. Yeah. But P-Car Market, P-Car Market makes no sense whatsoever. Bring a Trailer maybe, but I mean the audience of Bring a Trailer is gonna just ish on that wrap and some of the mods.
Yeah, you make an interesting point about the crypto bro type guy, right? Or the ganja king or whatever. You know, those guys, like, they don't want to sit in the room and bid on a car like this and then win it and have it delivered. They want to go to that secondhand exotic car store where they've got all kinds of really obnoxious art on the wall. And and you walk in there and they give you fancy waters and liquid death or whatever, and a girl in a skirt comes out and kisses your butt, and everyone's like fawning all over you and helping you out while you do your Instagram posts and with all the other cars. They want an experience to buy something like this. So I think you might be onto something, Wade. This is definitely a car that belongs in one of those types of dealerships that the crypto bros like hanging out in, kind of like a nightclub experience. If they were to try to sell this at one of the nightclubs on the Strip, it would probably do pretty well.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Or rent it out. Send it over to Houston at royalty, and this thing would sell for. I mean, it would rent for $2,000 a day.
That's the thing. Driving this around in Vegas, you would think everyone would think you're just in a rental car.
Yeah, which I think I don't even think people care nowadays. They just want to have fun for fun by the hour.
Yeah, that's a good point. Gerd, what do you think of the result?
Didn't it?
We didn't talk about the result.
Yeah.
Oh, we didn't get to the result.
Yeah,
okay, that's right.
We didn't get to the result.
Yeah,
I don't want to give it away.
Yeah.
So what happened? What happened, Deeb? I think. What did you try to steal my bid? You're like, it's basically a proxy. Yeah, no. Here, let's hear.
Yeah.
Let's hear what happened on the bid on this one.
Our car hammered for $190,000, which is exactly the bid that JP took off of my 188. So I basically produced JP's Yahtzee. I think I should get half the credit for it. Our car failed to sell on just 13 bids, but JP, the asterisk next to your initial, you got a Yahtzee. Right on the money.
You can go ahead and buy it from me for the difference if you want. I'll take Venmo. I'm good.
$2,000? Yeah, no, you can keep that Yahtzee all to yourself. And you can keep the fucking car too. So, JP, how come you know so much about Lamborghinis? How'd you get this one right?
Yeah, right. Jeez, because big shout out everybody. Big surprise for the show tonight. I'm the one that bought it. Oh wait, it didn't actually sell. It's in the chum bucket for $290, guys.
Yes,
they want $290,000 for this turd. Gerd, what do you think of that?
They're a little out there.
They're a little nuts, huh?
Yeah. Didn't it finish at like $215 on Bring a Trailer last time?
Yeah. So it's a good $30-something thousand less than last time.
Yeah. No, they can have
214 on Thursday the 4th, and then on Friday the 12th, it hammered for $190,000 and just 13 bids, and then the other day it got 8 bids. I mean, there's really no audience for this car. I like Wade's take. I think the method is correct. I just don't agree with the price. Wade's talking like $280. I'm just saying you could get a high mileage Performante for $280, but I don't think anybody's paying that for this one, especially since it's got 2 failure to sell in the same month on the 2 most major platforms, 2 of the 3 biggest platforms in the market. So I think, JP, at this point now, would you agree this car is completely burnt?
Still don't think it's burnt. I still think if you take the wrap off, half the people looking, there's going to be twice as many eyeballs on this car next time around.
Yeah.
Wherever you put it, because they just, like, most people won't even know it's the same damn car because they won't care. Take the wrap off. Take different pictures of it. People think it's a different Lambo, and you'll have a completely different group of people looking at it. They won't even know. Yeah, it might come up, but I I don't think that matters that much.
I think even if you didn't take the wrap off and it wound up on a Facebook group or a secondhand dealership or something, those people looking at that car are not going to be browsing Bring a Trailer in their spare time or P-Car Market. They're not even going to know where this car came from or where it sold. They're going to be like,
true.
I'm up 80% of my crypto. I have 50K in a duffel bag. I want that one. And that's what they're going to say.
I think that's a good point, but let me be clear. I think when Deeb says, is it burned, and correct me if I'm wrong, Deeb, if you actually meant something else, but when you say it's burned, you mean it's burned for the auction sites. And I don't actually think it's burned for the auction sites because I think it could look like a completely different car.
I just think if like Gerd or somebody booked the car out and they said on paper this should be, let's just say a $275,000 example, I think this one is burned from reaching a retail number. I don't think anybody would pay $275. I feel like, and again, Wade will correct me when I'm wrong, I feel like if you have the ability to spend $250,000 on a car, you would run a Carfax on it, or you would do a little bit of research on it before you buy it. Wade would contest that somebody's up on crypto and they've got cash in a duffel bag and they go down to the dealership that he's talking about and they see the car in person and they're like, I have to have it, and they won't do the research. I just feel like, JP, our peers, we would go like, hey, we're in the market for a Performante. Look at this one. And then you would just spend 5 minutes and Google the damn VIN to see if this car failed to sell and there's something wrong with it. It might not happen to the type of buyer that Wade is talking about, but I feel like the responsible buyer wouldn't pay a retail number for this because it has failed to sell twice on major platforms. I feel like the car is burned, but I would understand if I'm incorrect and that there's just some jackass who's cashed up and would walk in and just buy it and not give a rat's ass. And it wouldn't matter to him. He just wouldn't care, So
You're totally right on that, Michael.
Yeah.
Seeing it in person is different than seeing it, pictures of it online. That's anything though, or any car.
Yeah.
You're going to get the same response, totally different response.
Ether. It's
when
the
you
ether.
Exactly. That's exactly it.
Yeah. So I just, in my, like, my mind is telling me this car's burnt. Like, nobody's going to buy it. But Wade's like, no, man, somebody will walk in and be like, I'm going to have that car. And then they'll just buy it. But I think those are fools. And when I was a kid, everybody said a fool and his money will soon be parted. If you pay $280 for this car, I think you're being cavalier. Some guys can afford to be cavalier. I just don't live in that world. So it's hard for me to swallow that this car isn't burnt. I think it's burnt. It should be burnt, but maybe it's not.
Somebody would think it's a good deal if they're willing to spend that money on it.
Yeah.
Well, how is it any different than like the 911, that white 911 that we were talking about at the top of the show, the 77 that has the weird interior? Is that car burnt?
No, I don't think that car. Didn't that car sell? Where are we at?
Yeah, it did sell for $100,000,
Yeah,
but
sold,
I mean, it's but I mean, you all thought it was going to be brought more. I mean, if somebody just changed the interior and that did all the things that we were talking about, it would have brought a lot more money, right? So why wouldn't this Lambo bring a lot more money if they just pulled the stupid wrap off?
Well, but in your analogy, the white car didn't fail to sell. So like the guy who bought it could refurbish it and buy, like, let's just say he did change the entire interior to black, took the stripes off the ducktail, took the tape off the things, and made it just look a little more authentic as a car, a little less outlawy, but a nice build. And then he brought it back to market and is expecting to get 125 and 130. I don't think it's built. I think somebody bought it, updated the car, and then sold it. I like your idea, JP, of taking the wrap off the car and bringing the Lamborghini back to market. I think he will achieve more money in the auction or retail environment with it if he makes those changes. I think that's the correct path to get there. But I still feel like this car should never bring the 275 or 280 a on paper Performante should bring.
All right. We're beating the horse here. It's dead. Deeb says it's burnt. I think he's burnt in the head. He's been smoking a little too much ganja. Maybe he should be selling some of that ganja so he can afford a Lamborghini like this. Let us know what you guys think this Lambo should have brought. Do you think the seller should have taken that $215 when he had the shot there? Should he have taken the money this time around, just gotten the hell out? I mean, do you really want to be stuck with a Lamborghini that's bright colors like this when the bombs are inbound? Let us know in the comments below. And we're going to take a commercial break. We'll be right back if the world doesn't end. Hey guys, I gotta tell you about our friends Godden Porsche of Las Vegas and Godden Classic. If you're looking for a new Porsche or a classic, you gotta call our friend Steve at Godden. This guy. Save yourself the hassle of screwing around with all the auctions like we always talk about and just talk to Steve. He'll find you the classic Porsche you're looking for. Godden Porsche of Las Vegas. If you don't subscribe to Bid Nerds on YouTube right now, I'm gonna shoot this 997. If you said, wait, that's a 996, you're a nerd. So subscribe to the new YouTube channel, Bid Nerds. Hey guys, you're probably looking at your watch and wondering if Bid Nerds will ever end. So you better talk to our friends at Our Smiths to make sure your Rolex, Tag Heuer, AP, or any fine timepiece is in tip-top shape. Our Smiths, fine Swiss repair. All right, we are back. Welcome. All right, the world is still here. That's good news. We're excited about it. Let's see if Gerd's camera is working. It is, but we need to hit an info button one more time. Hit the, there you go. All right, Gerd doesn't have a focus ring on him. That's good. Okay, how's it going, everybody? We're back. All right, we've got some predictions for cars tonight. I think these are going to be pretty interesting, and they will also these are all kind of cars that I think are all very susceptible to fluctuations in the market. What's the first one we got on the list there, Michael Deep?
JP, do you recognize this car?
I don't know if I do. It does look like, is this the Godden one?
Yeah, I worked at Godden for 3 years, and this car was in our inventory.
Okay.
The entire time I was there, I could not sell this car. And the irony is, I probably love the Euro Carrera more than anybody else on the planet. I think these are, the 74 through 76 European Carreras that have the 73 RS 2.7 MFI motor is one of my favorite cars because Rafi's had one for a long time. Yuri now owns that car that Rafi had for a long time. But Yuri selected for us this Euro Carrera that is on Bring a Trailer. Our car is in Beverly Hills, California, showing 59,000 miles. And it's a really, really special car, but it's the exact car that we had in stock at Godden the whole time. Godden bought this car, JP, just a couple of months before I started working there. And Paul called me one day and he goes, hey, we just bought this Euro Carrera. And he told me that they traded, I think,
Black Speedster.
The Speedster, yeah, the Speedster for the car. They took this car as partial trade towards the Speedster or vice versa. And he told me what they paid for it. And the market was softening at that time. And I cringed, which was really tough. I felt bad. I was like, oh my God, they're making errors and I'm not there yet. And so it was really tough because the market had receded under the value that Godden owned the car for. And thus they were stuck with it for a very long time. Anyway, this is a very interesting car, JP. A prince from like Bahrain took delivery of this car as a young man living in Germany and I think going to university there. He took delivery of this car from the factory. So although it's a 74, it does not have a ducktail. In 1974, any kind of rear spoiler was illegal in Germany. So as he took delivery of the car from the factory in Germany and was on diplomatic plates in Germany at the time, this was a spoiler delete car because that was the law in Germany. Really neat car. He gallivanted like a playboy. I think he took the car back to the Middle East, and then he went back to Europe. I think he was in London, and this car sold in London in like 1985, and it was the first time the car was ever road registered because he was on diplomatic plates wherever he went as a young man. But I think 11 or 12 years after he bought the car, he sold it for the first time, and the new owner then finally paid registration fees for the car in London. The car went through a refurbishment, and then a guy that I know named Jack Mulliner in Southern California bought the car in Europe and brought it to LA. He drove the car for like a year or two and showed it and got a bunch of trophies in the US and Southern California, putting it in a variety of different car shows. Everywhere the car went, it won. And then he sold the car. The car was for sale on the East Coast for like 2 years prior to somebody in Texas taking the car. And the guy in Texas is the one who traded it to Godden. And I had been following the car while it was for sale on the East Coast for like 2 years. And I was like, man, there is a Euro Carrera for sale in the US, but they're asking way too much money for it. And it's because this car kind of has special provenance and it's a very 70s colorway. The car had been restored before it came stateside. Jack fawns over the restoration on this car, but when we had the car at Godden, JP, I was not that impressed with the cosmetic condition. I thought the paint needed I thought it was for the caliber of car that it was, I didn't think the paint was done to a high enough standard. It could have been paint corrected, but we were so buried in the car, there was no way I was going to ask to spend any money on it to try and make it better, because that wasn't going to help it sell. The other thing was, JP, we used to start the cars like every month at Godden, and then we'd take them out. And if you were there, remember, we would drive all the cars one by one around the block at Godden just to keep the cars going, all the classic cars. It was a fun little exercise we did every 3-4 weeks. This car ripped. It had tons of power. It really felt like a 250 horsepower motor because it's so light and those motors are so rev happy. This car really ran well, but it was weeping oil. And when you would run it, it would drip oil on hot parts of the motor. So you drive it around the block and then you'd smell smoke. So this car, I just thought it wasn't quite the kiss of death, but it needed a lot of attention, and we were in it too high to put the money into it. Anyway, this car has since traded hands a couple of times. The new owner has bought it. It sold at auction for like $305, and then this guy bought it at an auction a little while later for like $260 something. He spent a bunch of money on it, and he's literally said in the comments on this listing that he's in it $270,000. And he goes, he's like telling people, like, I'm happy to share with you what I've got in the car, and I'm happy to share with you that this car previously sold for $305. It's a premium listing, so it ran for like 2 weeks. It's no reserve, and this car is gonna sell. So, lots been said about the Euro Carreras. They're fantastic cars. When American Carreras were $20,000, $30,000, you could buy a Euro Carrera in this country for 50 or 60. And then just in the last like 10, 12 years, they've become $200,000 and $300,000 cars. This is a really special example with incredible provenance, a COA, a box of trophies, and known history from day one, because I had it all the way up until 2020 when I was at Godden. We knew everything that this car had been through. It's changed hands a couple of times since then, but it's known history throughout. And it's like I said, it's a nice restoration. The cocoa mats, the sport seats, it's got the thicker steering wheel. JP, it's a really cool car, and it absolutely rips. It's a great driver. Maybe they addressed the dripping oil and that sort of thing. Maybe they did the paint correction and it looks a lot better than it did. The question is, will this car essentially break 300? Is the guy that's in it 270 that's selling now, is he going to make money on this car? That's the big question. That's why we're all watching. And since Yuri owns a Euro Carrera, he owns Rafi's, he's watching on bated breath to see what this car is going to bring, because it's going to help him determine the value for his very own car. So, John, I offer to you a Euro Carrera. Did you ever drive this car around the block one of those days when we were moving cars? I know Mikey did, but did you ever have the pleasure?
I never got a chance to get behind the wheel. I remember it was parked in front of us when we were at Works Reunion doing the Derfossination thing. We were actually supposed to make a DF film on this, and I remember going out with Mikey and Paul. We were with this car out there by Nelson. And I had a total gear failure. I've got some great drone footage of this car. I've got some interesting footage, but we were never able to fully complete it because the Osmos completely failed. But that said, it's a beautiful car. It's funny because and it's a shame that he wasn't able to get the ducktail on it. The original owner, that is, because that really is what makes this car so iconic. You look at it and you do not think that this is a $300,000 car. It just looks like a run-of-the-mill, older SC, or not SC, but an old Carrera. And I love it. It's great, but it just, without the ducktail, you just don't think it's special. You just look at it and you just think, that's a nice old 911, impact bumper 911. Wade, what do you think of this thing?
So from just as a car, I think I've said a few times on this show, I love the 70s vibe. Give me a gold, brown, bronze, give me all of that. And this car has it all. From a history and provenance perspective, I mean, this car has an incredible story. I don't know if we've ever had a car on the show with so much to it, and everything's so well known and well documented. And I wonder, from the perspective of that in particular, if that adds any percentage value wise versus any old random Euro Porsche, something similar, the next VIN on the production line by comparison. Mm-hmm. I feel like it should. And I also feel like just the fact that this car has that sort of history is going to attract a lot of eyeballs. Like you said, the big question is it going to go over 3? Is the person who has 250 or 275 into it going to get that out of it? I think that so long as mechanically those things are sorted and it's still a drivable, well-maintained car, I think they probably will get pretty close. But maybe a year ago was the right time for this car. Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Did they miss the window, Gerd? What do you think?
Yeah, how long ago? What did you say it sold for? 305? They say.
I don't know. I just read in the comments that it had previously done that. I'll look it up while you're talking, Gerd, and I'll see if I can spit it out.
Yeah.
But they were in it. Somebody's trying to say like, oh, this car just sold. And he's like, yeah, it just sold. So who cares? Like, I'll tell you what I'm in it right now.
Yeah. It's a great color combination. Generally, I'm not a fan of the brown interiors, but that with the black carpeting and the exterior color, I think it's the perfect package for it. 300,000. I guess we'll see what happens with that. If that's what they're hoping to get again.
Yeah. So the Cooper Classics. Let's see. Okay, Russo and Steele at Scottsdale, Arizona, in January 2015. It sold for 305. That's our Texas owner, and that guy kept it for a year, and then in 2016 or early 2017, he traded it after owning it for like essentially 2 years or a year and a half. He traded it on a Speedster at Gaudin. And then the car sat in inventory from 2017 through 2020, 2021 when Steve finally sold the car. And then it sold again at Gooding. And that's our current buyer, our current seller. He bought it at auction for 260 something and 263, I think. And now he's put another $10,000 in it, and he's in it like 270. And he's trying to retail out of it. And
how much is it going to bring, Deep?
So JP, I just to Wade's question, he asked to the audience, does the known history of a special Carrera, does that add value to the car? And I want to take that question and ask you, because you're in the media business. And JP, I feel like one of the things I've learned from you, I know it inherently, but watching you work and make a career, stories sell cars. So I ask you the question that Wade asked: does the known history of this car make a difference? Does that add a quantifiable value to this car versus any other, like, let's just say Yuri's Carrera,
Well, I mean, it's not like it was Michael Jordan's car. I do like the idea.
Diplomatic plates for 10 years,
Yeah, I mean, that's
somebody special in it.
It's somebody special, but it's not somebody that anybody knows who they. I mean, nobody has a poster of the Prince of Jordan or whatever on their wall. I don't know. I mean, look, I think that story you're absolutely right, does sell cars, but I don't think we're seeing that story in this listing. It's mentioned, and yeah, it's talked
I'm not
about.
selling it.
Yeah, but it's not. There's no film that documents everything, and I think honestly, I think it's a bit sullied in the sense that the early history is great, but then we get to like 2000. What would you say, 16? And since 2016, no one has loved this car. I feel like it's just been passed around. I feel like it's kind of a sad. It's almost like a Velveteen Rabbit type situation. It was something that was treasured to someone, and now it's just sad. And I think, honestly, that's going to hurt it. I think the fact that this guy bought it after someone else had bought it, after it was traded at a dealership who couldn't sell it. It's like, what have you done for me lately, car? It's just not. And clearly this guy that owns it now is just like, he wants to get out of it. He doesn't care about the thing. And it's great. Kudos to him for putting this thing for sale at no reserve in this in this market and in this environment with what's going on in the world. I'd be really worried about doing a no reserve car, because on any given day, you just do not know what's going to happen on any news cycle. And I'm not saying the end of the world is going to happen, but one thing on one day, I don't know, the stock market could crash tomorrow, right? Something could happen politically big tomorrow. We just don't know. We have a president that's 900 years old. The news cycle tomorrow, we have no idea what the heck is going to happen, right? So do you really want your $300,000 car listing no reserve in a world where everyone's eyeballs could be glued to their screens for something other than your car? I don't know. I love the car, though, and I want to see it make the big money. What was your number?
Okay, so I I think this guy's going to sell. The car is going no reserve, so I think the car is going to bring some money. He might make a few bucks, but I don't think it's going to turn 300,000. I just don't. He didn't spend enough money on it, or change it enough, or enhance it enough to justify that somebody should pay over 300 for it. So despite him declaring that he's in at 270, I think the hammer is going to fall at just $285,000 at no reserve. It'll sell. With his commission, he'll still make money, but or whatever he paid to list it, he's still going to make money, but
not with inflation. My number's 260. Wade, where are you at?
Wow.
I was going to say 265, and I'll just say this one quick point, JP, to your little quip about cars not getting loved. I feel like, there are plenty of examples nowadays of cars that are older classics, collectors, and they just pass from person to person who puts them in their, storage, their museum, their this, their that. So I don't think that should hurt it too much. It's just one of those cars that's going to be passed around.
And look, just a quick response to that, and I'm going to pass it off to Gerd. Yeah, the question was, does the provenance help the value? So I don't think necessarily the fact that it hasn't been loved is terrible for the car. I just think that it negates any possibility of it having a bonus value by having the prince or whatever having owned it. But I don't know. It could be wrong. Gerd, what do you think this car will go for?
I agree with the part of this should go to somebody that gets attached to their cars. I mean, there's so many cars that go from person to person, like was said. And I mean, even now, I mean, we took in a car just the other day that was maybe 3-4 years old, already had 4 owners. People just pass these cars on and on, hoping to make a quick buck, or just they enjoy it for a short time and then they're ready to move on to something else. Something like this, I would probably say 280.
280. That's a good number. Okay.
280.
But I'm the type of person that would look at that number and think, okay, well, I'm going to look at the market and see what else I can get for that money.
Yeah.
A lot of options at 280 something, right?
Get a Lamborghini.
with a shiny wrap. It's true. Maybe that's what this seller should do, is put a rainbow wrap on it, and they'd really get the big money. What do you guys think this Euro Carrera 74 owned by a prince? Let us know in the comments below. Deeb, you wanted to get the last word in there. Hop in.
I was just gonna say the herd is all over the place. So Anthony's at 294, Kevin at 285, and he said no sale. I'm not. That's weird because it's no reserve. Kevin said I want to change my bid to 260. Randy B's at 249. Buddha's at 289.11. Carbine's at 284.911, and that's it. Not a ton of action, but we got 4 people on the show, so we got some numbers to work with. There you go. Thank you.
All right, we're a bit behind. We got to catch up. Let us know what you guys think this car will bring, and we'll find out what happens very soon. All right, what's the next car, buddy?
All right, JP. Aston Martin and Mercedes-Benz are in cahoots together in Formula One. The Aston Martin team is using Mercedes-Benz motors, and now Aston Martin as a company is running with AMG basic power plants. So we are looking at
Michael Deeb's going to die.
A 2023 Aston Martin Vantage Coupe. This is the F1 edition. So this car is basically a replica that you can buy for the street of the car that Aston Martin is using as a pace car in modern day Formula One. Our car is located in Virginia Beach, Virginia, and is showing just 1,300 miles. The car is powered by the venerable AMG 4-liter V8 that's got twin turbos. Wade, pick me up here. How much horsepower does this car have? Is that like 600?
I have no idea. Aston Martin and me.
527 horsepower, 505 torque. And because it's the F1 edition, that's about 25 horsepower more over the standard Vantage, which is probably around just 500. So being the F1 edition, it gets a little spike in power. And then the fancy graphics and the wing and all that stuff. Listen, 10, 20 years ago, I thought Aston Martin was making the prettiest cars in the marketplace. They're built to a terrible standard, and they were using their own motors at the time. The cars were technically garbage, but they were the best looking cars. Now Aston Martin's got, Mercedes power plants, and the cars really go. But the silhouette of this car, all the add-ons and everything, all the lines, JP, you hammer the table about radiuses, and this car's got a wing. What does an Aston Martin need a wing for? They're sports sedans. This is not a sports car. Nobody's going to track this thing. The diffuser looks ridiculous. This car is a cartoon caricature of itself. And while I was digging Aston Martin for a while, knowing I wouldn't buy one because they weren't very reliable, now they make a car I'd actually like to drive, but I couldn't stand to be seen in it. I just think it looks like a joke. So, John, I send it over to you. You actually picked this car. What's up? Why did you like this one?
Well, yeah, I mean, I just wanted to talk about it because it was just, it would be nice if they watched it. I don't know if people watching noticed I was zooming in on the hood and stuff like that. I mean, it's freaking dirty. The car is flipping dirty. Like literally, did you see that? It's like wash the car when you're going to list, $100,000 plus car. When we talked about the Cybertruck on the last episode, or maybe it was the episode before, I was talking about how it's kind of become an iconic car. And the thing I want, and someone in the comments was all like, oh, that's not an iconic car. Oh, the new Aston Martin or the Project One or this, that. This guy was naming all these hypercars that he thought were, iconic. And those cars aren't iconic. No one knows what they are. And I feel like this is just another one of these hypercars that it's just too whiz bang to be able to, this is an invisible, I would turn my head to look at a CRV before I turn my head to look at this thing going by. It just doesn't do anything. It's just so like trendy. Yeah, look how dirty this hood is. Can you guys see this? Look at this. They didn't wash the goddamn car. It just drives me nuts. Wade, what do you think of these?
So I have a couple thoughts on these. I don't know them too intimately from a spec perspective, but I know a couple of things. For a brief moment in time, there was going to be something special about the F1 edition of this Aston Martin. And I think people were kind of treating it as this, like you said, not quite a hypercar, but something that was interesting, special edition, something that was better than the average Aston Martin. But the problem is that I think the average Aston Martin owner wants something that's more reserved. It kind of is interesting, but is a comfortable Grand Tourer, still sort of blends in, but is, nice and fast and all that jazz. This car, I think, with the F1 provenance is one thing, but with all the extra stuff, it just doesn't attract really anyone who's interested. And because of that, this car has attracted a lot less attention and interest, and I think is depreciated more than even the average Aston Martin, which is saying a lot. I know of a gentleman who has this car. He had it very briefly. He did not enjoy driving it, which is a little bit of a shame. And I think from a price perspective, from an enjoyment perspective, from a special edition perspective, there's just so many other cars out there that are not this. And it doesn't do a lot for me, and it doesn't seem to be doing a lot for a lot of other people. Even if you're the biggest Aston Martin F1 fan and you have $50 million, I don't think this is a car you'd even bat an eye at.
Gerd, you're kind of a James Bond looking fella. What do you think of this thing?
Good looking car. Nice color combination. I mean, it's kind of different. I was just looking through previous listings. There was a convertible that sold last month that had less miles than this one. Probably a little cleaner than this one too, as far as they took attention to detail and washed it up. Yeah,
nice.
It's crazy how people don't even think of that stuff. Yeah, I mean, clean it up. Take pride in what you got, and especially if you're going to display it, on a platform like this and want to get all the money out of it. I mean, why wouldn't you?
Wade, Deeb, what's this thing going to bring?
All right, John. Our car is currently sitting at $130,000, and it's got 2 days before it closes on Bring a Trailer. That is on JP, a remarkably low 3 bids. Here's the deal. The base price for one of these cars is $171,000. Our car had a window sticker, an MSRP of over 200 grand. Like I said, I don't think I agree with Wade. I don't think anybody's into these cars. Aston Martin is a scary brand to park your money with. I think that this car is DOA. So I'm going to give you $165,000, where I also think it will fail to sell. I think this guy thinks he's going to cash out and get his money back, and I don't think that's going to happen at all. And it's deplorable that he didn't have the car washed before he photographed it.
Yep, I think it's going to stall out at $150. this is just yeah. DOA is a good way to put it. Wade, where are you at?
I'm killing it even before that. 130. Wow. She's done. There's
wow.
no market for this car. I mean, it's
Yeah.
kind of sad. And like you said, the MSRP was massive, and these aren't even getting close. The 2023 Roadster was 163, and that probably had a 200, 220, 230 MSRP. I mean, these are just, there's no money in them.
Yeah. Gerd, where are you at, buddy?
I think I'll go 145.
145, man. I'm feeling. I thought I was going low.
Yeah.
And
Right.
but I agree. Who wants this thing? I mean, the fact that you could buy a car like this for $200,000 and in less than a year lose $150,000 or more. I mean, that's just, God, Aston Martins are scarier than the possibility of World War III. What do you guys think? Let us know in the comments below. And what's the last car we got on the list, Michael D?
JP found the title of the show.
Yep.
John selected for us a Fisker Ocean Extreme, which I will confess immediately, I did not even know that this car existed before JP picked it for the show. Our car is on Cars and Bids. It's showing 700 miles. It's listed out of La Jolla, California, down in San Diego, in the nice area. It's got dual electric engines, and of course, it is all-wheel drive, automatic SUV crossover. I don't know much about it. I don't rate them very highly. When Fisker made the first car, the Karma, even though he was struggling with money, I thought it was very groundbreaking that he made a car that was high touch and high design and appealing. Where Priuses were selling like hotcakes, Fisker came in and said, what if we sold an electric and sort of, conscious car to the black card set? And it didn't work out for Fisker. He went broke, and a ship sank, and he lost like 38 cars, and he couldn't refund the money. But I thought Fisker was certainly ahead of his time. Now that somebody has sort of dug up the brand, because I don't think Heinrich Fisker is still associated with this, but I could be wrong. This car, it just looks cheap to me, and I don't know why you would select this over a more reputable brand with better support if you own the car. I think he's a little late to the game. I feel like the other brands are taking the place where this guy's trying to come in. Now, this guy is trying to come in at an affordable level. JP, I don't know if you glanced at this. I did, and I'll read it to us one more time before I hand it immediately over to you. But the window sticker on this car, John, was a $61,500 car with barely a couple $1,000s in options. So our total vehicle price was just $65,162. I didn't read far enough to tell you what the range is on this car. JP, do you know a little bit more about it than I do?
I don't know damn thing about it. I know, I picked it because I didn't know it existed either. I knew Fisker was trying to sell cars out there, but this company's going to be out of business in a nanosecond. We all know this. But look, this car is what everyone wanted the Cybertruck to look like. All the a-holes, they're like, oh, the Cybertruck's ugly. They'd have been just fine if the Cybertruck looked like this. This is what you get when you don't have someone who is design forward like Tesla is. This is such an ugly money for radius turd. This is just like every bad design trend from the last 20 years have been mashed together with this absolute brick of a worthless POS. This car we said that the Aston Martin was dead on arrival. Who wants this stupid looking thing? Yeah, geez, Wade, what do you think of this terrible vehicle?
So this requires a little bit of backstory.
He's got backstory. Good.
Yeah. So here's the thing about this car. Not only is Fisker probably not going to exist, it's not because this particular car is, so ugly or that. It's actually because a couple of months ago, a very famous tech YouTuber, not me, but Marquez Brownlee, MKBHD, reviewed this car on his auto channel, and he called it the worst car he's ever reviewed. And that stirred up a lot of press and a lot of attention, so much so that people from Fisker were trying to figure out how they could get in contact with him and get the review taken down or talk him out of saying these things or give him a different car to review, because the car that he reviewed from a software perspective was awful, from features, from everything. Nothing worked. Nothing was the way it was supposed to be. And he really caused just this ish storm for Fisker for weeks on end. And then he reviewed it a second time after they, pushed some software updates and did some things to it that were supposed to make it better. And it still was not good. You can take a Fisker Ocean to CarMax right now, and they will give you maybe 20 grand because it has 4 wheels and a steering wheel, and that's about it.
Oh, wow.
I would not have this car for free. And there are so many other issues with Fisker that go beyond, the brand. I mean, they're the software, the support, the hardware, the everything. I mean, I don't blame the person for selling this car. They're not selling it to flip it. They're not selling it to make money. They're not selling it because it's cool or interesting. They're probably selling it because, 3 months from now, it may be a brick in their driveway.
Gerd, does this thing belong at the bottom of the ocean, or do you want one in your garage? What do you think? What do you think of this car?
I definitely don't want one. I'm guessing when he did that review, he was probably sitting in the back seat. Did you take a look at that back seat? It looks like you're sitting on a board. I mean, back and bottom. It's like you're definitely not. Nobody's ever going to want to ride with you in this thing, in the back seat.
It's a good thing the windows are tinted. Oh yeah, look at that.
Oh, wow.
You don't want to be seen in it. That's for sure. Oh, we lost his camera. All right, Deeb, what do we think this just anchor is gonna bring, if anything?
564 horsepower, 543 pound-foot of torque, and a range of 360 miles. You could almost forgive the guy for buying it. But I was going to say the same thing Wade said astutely, which is this guy's he's had it for 700 miles and he's getting off of it. He's just letting it go. JP, our car again was a $65,000 car. It's currently at $31,313 on 21 bids with 1 day to close on Cars and Bids, which is the right platform for the car. But I don't think it's going to go much further myself. So I'm going to give you $41,000. And the real question is whether or not it will sell for that. This car has a reserve, but I'd be willing to bet that if he gets 41 grand, he may just let it go if it's as bad as Wade's colleague said it was. You know what I mean? Like that kind of thing. So there you go. 41 to you, JP. Where are you at?
I am shocked to hear that it has 31 bits. I guess it's the same people that are like buying Rivians or whatever other stupid. Yeah.
31,000 on 21 bids.
Oh, 21 bits. Okay. Well, still, even 21 bids is
it's a lot of action.
surprisingly high. I'll go 35 and say it sells, actually. Wade, what do you think?
I mean, Cars and Bids is probably the right platform, and they've sold a couple of them already. But I think the negative press and the bad software and everything else over the last month or two is really going to hurt this car. It's not going to hit MSRP. It's not going to hit 50. I mean, if it hits 44, which is probably my guess, this seller should just GTFO. But they're probably not, because they're going to feel really bad spending $65,000 on an EV, driving it basically, to their work and back for 2 weeks, and then losing 20 grand.
Yeah, and which vehicle are you losing more money in, this or the Aston Martin? Dollar for dollar, percentage, I think you might even be worse off in this vehicle. Unbelievably bad, right?
To elaborate what Wade was saying, 2 Fisker Oceans that were 2023s ran on Cars and Bids in November, and another one in October. Both cars were bid to 62 and 65 respectively, but neither one of them took the money. Those guys were speculating. This guy's not. And the bad press, I mean, this car, boat anchor. Where are you at, Gerd? Talk to us.
Well, isn't Fisker the one that had the charging in the roof line? I thought I saw it in this one as well.
I think it's a solar panel or something like that.
The Fisker Karma had that before they were this brand or whenever they transitioned. And I think this has like a little bit of it. But
I don't understand why more of them don't do that. When the ones that are out now.
I've been told from people in the EV space that it just doesn't make sense. The solar panels aren't big enough. They don't generate enough power, and it's too costly, heavy, expensive to put it all, and the technology's not there. But it's an interesting idea. I'll give them that much.
Not enough bang for the buck.
Yeah, at CES they had an actual solar powered car, and the whole car, it was bigger than an S-Class, and the whole car, hood to trunk to roof, was all covered in solar panels, and that only got 100 or 120 miles or whatever it was. So there's some sort of technology that isn't there, just to answer your question.
Yeah.
Well, Wade, what was your bid again before Gerd gives us?
44,000, I think, somewhere in there.
Okay, thank you. All right, Gerd, where you at?
I'm gonna go just under 40, 39.5.
39.5.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, it doesn't sound like any of us are too bullish on the Fisker. Do we think that's... Well, I mean, I think everyone's answered the question. It's just because this particular vehicle... I don't think any of us have talked about how much EVs have taken an ish in the last, 6 months or whatever, and that's certainly going to contribute to it as well. So it doesn't help that it's the least popular of the EV brands. It has the worst reputation of all the EV brands. There's no buzz for this thing like there is the Cybertruck. I mean, it's Fisker. If you've got Fisker stock, I'd be getting rid of that too before the stock market crashes, right? All right, guys, it'll
Brutal.
be if this thing. I mean, look, these three cars that we've talked about, they're kind of all over the place, right? We've got kind of an exotic, we've got this crazy EV, and we've got a really rare Porsche. It'll be interesting to see the results, and it'll be interesting to see what happens this week as things kind of unfold. I always talk about that canary in the coal mine. This canary, man, keeps dodging the bullet. Lots of canaries this time around. Let us know what you think this Karma, or I keep calling it Karma, what this
Ocean.
does it, like I said to Gerd, does it belong at the bottom of the ocean like I do?
Yeah.
Let us know in the comments below. And I think that is a show. Thank you so much, Wade, from Tech Daily for coming back. Where can we find your Tech Daily stuff these days?
Over on YouTube, I will be uploading non-car content, no EV stuff, smartphones, the usual stuff, and I'll also be traveling again this week as well. If anybody is in the Nashville area, that's where I'll be.
You're
You're going to have fun down there. Yeah. You're going to have fun down there. That's a good town.
Gerd, where can we find you when you're not a nerd?
I spend a lot of my time at, I don't know if my mic's working now.
Yeah, that's where we got you. Yep.
Yeah.
My earphones are out. I spend a lot of time at Team Chevrolet off of Anna 95. Been there for 10 years. Come by. I'd be happy to help you out.
Nice.
Awesome.
All right. And if you guys are looking to possibly sell your car on an auction site, I know a guy, Michael Deeb. Can you help him out?
Oh, yeah, I know a guy. Who should we recommend? You can reach me. Just shoot me, direct message me through the show or shoot me an email at mdeeb@haggerty.com and let me know if you have an interesting car that you would like to sell in a live online auction. I'd be happy to talk to you about it and give you an estimate range and see if we can make a deal.
New episodes going up on Derfossination. I officially changed the name to Cars Unknown. So Derfossination is still around, but the channel is now called Cars Unknown. We're going to be making a bunch of new films here shortly. New stuff coming out weekly, and keep watching Bid Nerds. Let's you guys, if
JP.
you're if you're in the comment section or if you're in the chat, make sure you hit that thumbs up button and make sure you hit subscribe. If you're new to the channel and you haven't done it already, please do. And then of course, shout out to our good friends over at Our Smiths. Get your watch serviced, fine Swiss repair at Our Smiths. And Godden Porsche of Las Vegas. What else did you want to say, Michael D, before we dip on out of here?
After you put Cars Unknown on your other forearm, I just want to remind you that you can't change the name anymore. You're going to run out of arms.
Dude, I'm going to get a whole sleeve. Derfossination is not going away. I just changed the name.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Of the
it
channel.
was such a good brand. I was going to pour some out for.
I see how you are. No. Derfossination's still around.
Where's that knife?
Cars Unknown. All right. Deeb's got jokes tonight. All right. Thanks for hanging out, guys. We will see you on Wednesday night. Bye.
Thanks, Wade.
Get those words!